Marcus Chen heard the laughter before he saw the faces. He was pushing his cleaning cart down the hallway of the executive floor, the wheels squeaking against the polished marble, a sound he'd been meaning to fix for weeks, but never found the time. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in November, and through the glass walls of the main conference room, he could see them. 17 people in expensive suits, champagne glasses raised, celebrating something he wasn't part of. He wouldn't have stopped at all if the cart hadn't caught on the doorframe. Ah, perfect timing. The voice belonged to Richard Caldwell, CEO of Pinnacle Financial Group, a man whose face appeared on the cover of Forbes twice and whose signature was on Marcus's bi-weekly paychecks. Come in. Come in. We're just celebrating our Q3 numbers. 42% growth, Marcus. You know what that means? Marcus knew what it meant. It meant bigger bonuses for them. It meant his hours might get cut again because they'd hire a contracted cleaning company to optimize costs. It meant nothing good for him. But he smiled anyway. The smile he'd perfected over 18 years of wiping down surfaces in buildings he'd never owned. That's great news, sir. You know what I always say, Marcus? Caldwell's face was flushed with champagne and success. The room had gone quiet now, everyone watching. I always say, you'll never get rich working for someone else. Isn't that right? That's the American dream. Ownership, equity, building something. He gestured expansively, nearly spilling his drink. You understand that, right? You've been here, 15 years? 18, sir. 18, see? 18 years of steady work, and you're still... He paused, searching for the word. Someone in the back coughed. Well, you're still pushing that cart. No offense, Marcus, but that's exactly what I mean. You'll never get rich doing what you're doing. You need to take risks, build equity, invest in yourself. The room waited. Marcus felt the weight of 17 pairs of eyes, some embarrassed, some amused, some simply indifferent. His hands tightened on the handle of the cart. He thought about leaving, about nodding and backing out with that same practiced smile. Instead, he spoke. With respect, Mr. Caldwell, I'm already rich. The silence that followed was different than before. Caldwell's smile froze, uncertain whether this was a joke or an insult. Jennifer Torres, the CFO, set down her glass. The youngest executive, Marcus thought his name was Brad or Brett, actually leaned forward. I'm sorry, Caldwell said. I said I'm already rich, sir. Maybe not by your definition, but by mine. Marcus's voice was steady. He surprised himself. I own my home. Paid it off 4 years ago. No mortgage. I have no debt. My daughter finished college last year, full ride because of the savings bonds I bought every month since she was born. My retirement accounts have about $840,000 in them. Compound interest from 32 years of consistent investing. I spend less than I make every single month, and I sleep well at night. Caldwell's face had shifted from confusion to something else. Interest, maybe, or disbelief. That's... Jennifer Torres started, then stopped. That's impossible. Brad or Brett finished for her. On a janitor's salary? No disrespect, but the math doesn't work. Marcus looked at him directly. The math works fine if you understand the math. $17 an hour, 40 hours a week. Sometimes overtime. I started at $9, 32 years ago. But here's what you're not calculating. I never upgraded my lifestyle. I drive a 2004 Honda Civic with 240,000 miles. I buy clothes at Goodwill. I cook every meal at home. I don't have cable, just library books and a $15 streaming service. Every month without fail, I invest 30% of my take-home pay. He could see them doing the mental math, trying to make it work in their heads. 32 years of compound interest at an average 7% return in low-cost index funds. No flashy stocks, no crypto gambling, no schemes, just consistent, boring investing. And here's the part you're all missing. I have time. When you're in that boardroom until midnight, I'm home. When you're checking emails at your kid's soccer game, I'm actually watching the game. When you're paying $4,000 a month for the apartment in Soho because you need to maintain an image, I'm sitting on my paid-off porch in Queens. Caldwell had set down his champagne. But surely you want more. A bigger house, a nicer car, vacations to... I went to Costa Rica last year, Marcus interrupted gently. Saved up for 2 years, paid cash. Stayed in a modest hotel, ate local food, came back with memories and zero debt. Mr. Caldwell, I've cleaned your office for 18 years. I've seen the stress lines appear on your face. I've emptied the antacid bottles from your desk drawer. I've heard you on the phone with your daughter, trying to explain why you'll miss another recital. The room had become oppressively quiet. I'm not saying my way is better. I'm saying it's different. You asked me if I understood that I'll never get rich doing what I'm doing. But, sir, I think we're using different dictionaries. You measure wealth in the size of your portfolio, and that's fine. I measure it in the size of my freedom. Marcus started to back out with his cart. The squeaky wheel seemed louder now in the silence. "Wait," Caldwell said. His voice had lost its jovial edge. "How much did you say was in your retirement account?" $840 approximately. I check it quarterly, not daily. Checking it daily just makes you want to tinker, and tinkering destroys long-term returns. Jennifer Torres was typing something on her phone. She looked up, her expression strange. "Marcus, if you don't mind me asking, what's your target retirement number?" $1, $2 million. I'll hit that in about 6 years at my current rate, assuming average returns. Then I'll retire at 62, keep my expenses under $40 a year, and let the remaining portfolio continue to grow. Basic 4% withdrawal rule. I'll be fine. Jesus Christ, someone whispered. Caldwell's face had gone from flushed to pale. He looked at Marcus as if seeing him for the first time, really seeing him, not the janitor, not the cart, not the uniform. A person with a plan that had worked for 3 decades, while everyone else had been too busy climbing ladders they didn't know how to get off of. "I should finish my rounds," Marcus said. "Congratulations again on your quarter." He was halfway down the hall when he heard footsteps behind him. "Marcus, wait!" It was Jennifer Torres, still holding her phone. "I just did the calculation. If you started at $9 an hour 32 years ago, investing 30% consistently with a 7% return..." She showed him her screen. "The math checks out. It actually checks out." "Yes, ma'am." "How many people know about this?" Marcus shrugged. "Anyone who asks, but most people don't ask the janitor about finance." She laughed, short and sharp. No, they don't." She looked back toward the conference room, then at Marcus. "That was either very brave or very stupid, what you just did in there." "Maybe both." Caldwell's ego is bruised. He doesn't handle being contradicted well, especially not in front of the whole executive team. "I apologize if I overstepped." "Don't!" She said it quickly, firmly. "Don't apologize. What you said needed to be said." She paused. "Can I ask you something? Off the record?" Marcus nodded. "Are you happy?" The question surprised him. He thought about it, really thought about it. "Most days, yes. I like the routine. I like knowing I'm building towards something. I like that my daughter calls me every Sunday and actually wants to talk, not just to ask for money. I like that when I go to sleep, I'm not worried about market crashes or losing my job or keeping up with everyone else. So yes, ma'am, I'm happy." Jennifer Torres looked at him for a long moment. "I make 7 figures a year, Marcus. I have a penthouse in Tribeca, a summer house in the Hamptons, and a portfolio that would make most people weep with envy." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "And I can't remember the last time I slept through the night without Ambien." She walked back toward the conference room, her heels clicking against the marble. Marcus continued his rounds. He had 3 more floors to finish before he could go home to his paid-off house in Queens, where his dinner was waiting in the slow cooker and a library book sat on his nightstand. Tomorrow would be the same as today, and the day after that, and the day after that. He'd spent 32 years building a life that looked boring from the outside. But it was his life, owned outright, with no one holding the mortgage on his time or his peace of mind. The cart's wheel still squeaked. He'd fix it this weekend. Marcus didn't expect the email. He barely checked his work email. Usually it was just schedule changes or cleaning supply orders. But when he logged in Thursday morning, there it was. A meeting request from Richard Caldwell himself. Subject: coffee? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. His stomach tightened. In 18 years, he'd never had a one-on-one meeting with Caldwell. You didn't get called to the principal's office for doing good work. You got called because you'd messed up. The coffee shop, Caldwell suggested, was 3 blocks from the office, the kind of place where a small latte cost $7 and people typed on MacBooks at marble tables. Marcus arrived at 7:55 a.m., ordering black coffee from a menu that made him feel like he needed a translator. He was wearing his cleaning uniform. He had to start his shift at 9 a.m. anyway. Caldwell showed up at 8:03, dressed in business casual that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly grocery budget. He looked tired. "Marcus, thanks for meeting me." He ordered something complicated involving oat milk and waited until they sat down before speaking again. "I owe you an apology." This wasn't what Marcus expected. Tuesday night, that joke, it was inappropriate. More than that, it was condescending. "Jennifer called me on it after you left and she was right. I've been thinking about what you said and I—" Caldwell stirred his drink unnecessarily. "I wanted to understand better how you did it. The math." Marcus sipped his coffee. It was actually pretty good, even if it was overpriced. "It's not complicated math, Mr. Caldwell." "Rich. Call me Rich." It's not complicated math," Marcus repeated, not calling him anything. "Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference consistently. Don't panic when the market drops. Don't get greedy when it rises. Wait, that's it." "But the discipline. 32 years of discipline. What's the alternative? 32 years of hope, of wishing things were different?" Marcus set down his cup. "I watched my father work 3 jobs and still die broke because he never learned to save. I watched my mother clean houses until she was 70 because Social Security wasn't enough. I decided I wanted different. Not better. Different. So I made a plan when I was 22, and I stuck to it." Caldwell was quiet for a moment. "Do you know how much debt I'm carrying?" Marcus shook his head. $3.2 million mortgage, second mortgage, car loans, private school tuition. I make $2.8 million a year, and I'm in debt up to my eyeballs because I can't afford to look like I can't afford it. You understand that?" "No, sir, I don't." Caldwell laughed, surprised. "That's fair. May I ask you something?" Marcus said. "Go ahead." "Why are you really here?" Caldwell looked out the window at the morning rush. People in suits, people with briefcases, people checking phones as they walked. "Because Tuesday night, after you left, Jennifer did the math for all of us. She calculated what we'd have if we'd invested 30% of our salaries since we started working." He turned back to Marcus. "Do you know what she found? I imagine you'd have more than me." "In theory, yes. But here's the thing, none of us have been consistent. I chased a tech startup in 2013, lost $400. Brad dumped half his savings into crypto in 2021. You can imagine how that went. Jennifer's going through a divorce. Legal fees are eating her alive. We make more, but we spend more, we risk more, and we panic more. When the market dropped in 2008, I pulled everything out. Lost years of growth." Marcus nodded slowly. "The market dropped 40% in 2008. I kept investing, bought more when it was cheap. See, That's what I don't understand. How? How do you have the nerve to keep buying when everything's on fire? Because I understand what I'm buying. I'm not buying stocks, not really. I'm buying small pieces of American business, thousands of them through index funds. Do I think American business will be worth more in 30 years than it is today? Yes. So when there's a sale, I buy more. Caldwell stared at him. You're buying more when everyone else is selling. When else would things be on sale? They sat in silence. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with conversation and espresso machines. Marcus, I have a proposition for you. Caldwell said finally. We have a financial wellness program for our employees. It's garbage, honestly. Just some vendor that sends out generic PDFs. What if you ran a session? Just one. Share your story, share your approach. I'll pay you consultant rates, $200 an hour for prep and presentation. Marcus's immediate instinct was to refuse. He wasn't a speaker. He wasn't a financial advisor. He was a janitor who'd gotten lucky with consistency. But then he thought about the other janitors, the security guards, the administrative assistants, people who made what he made or less, who might benefit from hearing that you didn't need to make 6 figures to build wealth. I'll do it for my normal hourly rate, Marcus said, but I want it open to all employees, not just executives. Everyone from the mailroom up. Caldwell extended his hand. Deal. Word spread faster than Marcus anticipated. By Monday, his email, which he checked maybe twice a week, was flooded with messages. Some were curious, some were skeptical, some were downright hostile. One email from an IT specialist named Derek Chen, no relation though they joked about starting a clan, was particularly direct. You're either lying about the 840K or you inherited it. No way you saved that on a janitor's salary without some windfall. Marcus appreciated the skepticism. It was healthy. He wrote back, no inheritance, no lottery, no rich relatives. Happy to show you the statements if you don't believe me. 32 years of consistent investing compounds in ways that surprise people. Derek wrote back within 10 minutes, I'll be at your presentation. The hostile emails were different. They accused him of showing off, of making people feel bad about their choices, of not understanding how hard it was for people with real responsibilities to save money. One from a marketing manager named Stephanie Reeves cut particularly deep. Easy for you to save money when you don't have kids in private school, a mortgage in Manhattan, and a career that requires you to look successful. Some of us can't just shop at Goodwill and drive beta cars without consequences. Marcus almost responded to that one, almost pointed out that he did have a kid, that he'd paid for her college, that his beta car ran fine and his Goodwill clothes were clean and professional. But he didn't. She wasn't asking for his help. She was defending her choices against the mirror he'd inadvertently held up. The presentation was scheduled for the following Friday at noon in the main auditorium. Caldwell's assistant told him to expect maybe 30 people. On Wednesday, Jennifer Torres stopped by while he was cleaning the 6th floor bathrooms. How's the preparation going? She asked. I'm not preparing much. I'm just going to tell my story. Good. That's better than any PowerPoint anyway. She paused. Marcus, I should warn you, this has gotten more attention than we expected. Last count, we have 140 people registered. Caldwell's actually worried we'll run out of space. Marcus set down his cleaning supplies. Why? It's just basic math. Because people are starving for this. You know what our average employee makes? $85,000 across the company. You know what our average employee has saved for retirement? $42 US. And most of them are in their 40s. They're desperate for hope, and you're offering them something concrete. I'm not a financial advisor. You're better. You're proof. You're a living example that the system can work if you work it. She leaned against the wall. But Marcus, be prepared. Some people won't want to hear what you have to say. It's easier to believe the system is rigged than to confront the choices they've made. Thursday evening, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a notebook. He'd never been good at public speaking. The thought of 140 people staring at him made his hands sweat. But he believed in the message. He'd lived it. If even one person heard him and started investing consistently, the nervousness would be worth it. His daughter Emily called at 8 p.m., their usual time. "Dad, I heard you're giving a presentation at work. That's amazing." "How did you hear about that? I didn't tell you. You're trending on LinkedIn, Dad. Someone posted about the janitor who has more saved than most executives. It's gotten like 50,000 likes." Marcus's stomach dropped. "What? Yeah, it's huge. People are calling you inspirational. Some are calling you judgmental. The usual internet stuff. But Dad, I'm proud of you. You've been living this way my whole life, and I never appreciated how unusual it was. How disciplined you had to be." After they hung up, Marcus opened LinkedIn on his phone. He'd created an account years ago, but never used it. Sure enough, there he was. Someone had taken a photo of him with his cleaning cart, overlaid with text. "This janitor has 840K saved for retirement. Maybe we're measuring success wrong." The comments were a war zone. Some people shared their own stories of financial discipline. Others accused him of being a plant, a fake story invented by conservatives to blame poor people for systemic inequality. Some questioned why he'd settle for being a janitor if he was so smart. One comment made him pause. It was from Jennifer Torres. "I've known Marcus for 5 years. His story is 100% real. And before you judge him for settling, ask yourself, who's really settled? The person who built a life of freedom on a modest income, or the person who's trapped in a high-income job they hate to pay for a lifestyle they don't enjoy?" Marcus closed the app. He didn't need to read more. Friday morning. He arrived at work 2 hours early. The auditorium was already being set up. Someone had created an actual presentation slide with his name on it. "The path to financial freedom. A janitor's perspective," it said, in large professional letters. He almost laughed. Whoever designed it had clearly never met him. By 11:45 a.m., the auditorium was packed. Every seat was taken. People were standing in the aisles. Marcus counted at least 200 people, maybe more. Richard Caldwell approached him backstage. "Marcus, I need to warn you. We had to open this up to the public. It went viral. There are reporters here." "Reporters?" "Financial journalists, bloggers. This has become bigger than a lunch and learn." Caldwell looked genuinely apologetic. "If you want to back out, I'll understand." Marcus thought about it. He thought about his father, working himself to death with nothing to show for it. He thought about his mother, cleaning houses at 70. He thought about his daughter, starting her career with zero debt and a strong foundation because he'd planned ahead. "I'll do it," he said. At noon, he walked onto the stage. The lights were bright. He couldn't see most of the faces, which helped. He'd left his cleaning cart backstage. Somehow it felt right to just be Marcus, not Marcus the janitor. He stepped up to the microphone and spoke. "My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 56 years old. I've been a janitor for 32 years, and I want to tell you how I built wealth on $17 an hour." The room went completely silent. "But first, I need to tell you the most important thing. This isn't a get-rich-quick story. This is a get-rich-slow story. Very, very slow. And if that doesn't interest you, you can leave now." No one left. Marcus took a breath and continued. The presentation lasted 45 minutes. Marcus spoke without notes, without slides, just his story. The numbers, the discipline, the sacrifices that didn't feel like sacrifices because he'd never wanted the things he was sacrificing. He talked about his 2004 Honda Civic, his Goodwill wardrobe, his slow cooker meals. He showed them his actual portfolio statements, projected on a giant screen for everyone to see. Month by month for 32 years. You can see the 2008 crash right here. My balance dropped 38% in 6 months. But you can also see that I didn't sell. I kept buying. And here, he pointed to a section of the graph, 2020, the pandemic crash. Same thing. Kept buying. Because here's what I understood that a lot of people don't. The market isn't the economy. The market is a voting machine in the short term and a weighing machine in the long term. I wasn't interested in votes. I was interested in weight. He could see people typing frantically on their phones, taking photos of the screen. The question I keep getting is, how did you have the discipline? And the answer is going to disappoint you. I didn't. I made it automatic. Every paycheck, 30% went straight from my account into my investment account. I never saw it. I never touched it. I lived on what was left, and I built my life around that number. A hand shot up in the third row. Marcus nodded. But what about emergencies? A young woman couldn't have been more than 25. What if your car breaks down or you get sick? Good question. I had an emergency fund, 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. It took me 3 years to build it, but once I had it, it stayed there. I've used it twice in 32 years. Once when my daughter broke her arm and we had a high-deductible insurance plan. Once when my furnace died in the middle of winter. Both times I replenished it within 6 months. But that means you're saving even more than 30%, someone called out. In the beginning, no. In the beginning, 30% was everything I could manage. But as I got raises over the years, I kept my lifestyle the same and saved the raises. So yes, by the time I was 40, I was saving closer to 40%. Now it's about 45%. But I started at 30%, and if I'd stayed at 30% my whole career, I'd still have over $600,000, which is still more than most people. Another hand. An older man, maybe 60. What about enjoying life? What about living? Marcus had been waiting for this question. Sir, I've lived a full life. I've traveled not lavishly, but meaningfully. I've eaten good food, homemade, not restaurant, but good. I've raised a daughter who knows I was present at every school play, every parent-teacher conference, every important moment. I've read hundreds of books. I've had hobbies. I've had friendships. The question isn't whether I've enjoyed life. The question is why we've been sold the idea that enjoyment requires constant spending. The room was silent. I'm not judging anyone's choices, Marcus continued. If you want the nice car and the big house and the expensive vacations, that's fine. But understand the cost. And I don't mean the dollar cost, I mean the time cost, the stress cost, the freedom cost. Every dollar you spend on lifestyle is a dollar that can't compound for your future. Every dollar you put toward impressing others is a dollar you're not investing in yourself. A reporter in the back, Marcus could tell by the professional camera, shouted out, "Are you saying poor people just need to be more disciplined?" The question was loaded. Marcus knew it, but he answered honestly, "No, I'm saying discipline is necessary, but not sufficient. I was fortunate. I never had a major medical crisis. I never got laid off for long periods. I never had family emergencies that drained my savings. My privilege isn't just discipline. It's luck, the luck of health, the luck of steady employment, the luck of a daughter who didn't have special needs requiring expensive care. I'm not holding myself up as a model everyone can replicate. I'm holding myself up as proof that it's possible, if circumstances allow, to build wealth on an ordinary income." The reporter seemed satisfied with that answer. Someone else wasn't. "This is bullshit." The voice came from the left side of the auditorium. A man in his 40s standing up. "You're up there humble bragging about your discipline while people are working 2 jobs just to afford rent. You don't have a mortgage? Great. You bought a house when houses were affordable? You don't have student loans? Great. You're old enough that college was cheap. This isn't replicable for millennials. It's not replicable for Gen Z. And pretending it is just makes people feel bad for systemic problems they didn't create." The room had gone tense. Marcus could feel it. You're right, Marcus said quietly. I bought my house in 1995 for $87. That same house is worth $510 today. If I were 22 right now, I'd be facing a completely different economic landscape. College costs have exploded. Housing costs have exploded. Healthcare costs have exploded. I can't tell you what I would do if I were starting today because I honestly don't know. He paused, choosing his words carefully. But here's what I do know. The principles don't change. Even if the execution has to, spend less than you earn. Invest the difference. Don't panic. Wait. Whether you're investing $500 a month or $50 a month, compound interest works the same way. It's slower at $50, yes. It's harder, yes. But the math is the math. That's not good enough, the man shot back. You're telling people to sacrifice when corporations are making record profits and wages are stagnant. You're putting the burden on individuals instead of demanding systemic change. No, I'm not saying don't demand systemic change, Marcus replied. I'm saying don't wait for it, because it might never come, or it might come after you're retired, or it might come in a form that doesn't help you. I couldn't control the system. I could only control my response to it. That's not fair. It's not right, but it was reality. The man sat down, shaking his head. Jennifer Torres stood up from the front row. Marcus, can I ask you something? You've worked at Pinnacle for 18 years. In that time, you've seen executives come and go. You've seen people make fortunes and lose fortunes. What's the biggest difference you've noticed between people who build wealth and people who don't? Marcus thought about it. Emotional discipline. The ability to separate your feelings from your finances. I've seen executives making 6 figures panic sell during market downturns because they couldn't handle watching their portfolios drop. I've seen people making minimum wage consistently build wealth because they treated investing like brushing their teeth. Boring, necessary, automatic. Wealth building isn't about intelligence. It's about emotional control. And how did you develop that? Jennifer pressed. Fear, honest fear. Marcus looked out at the audience. I was terrified of ending up like my father. He was brilliant, worked harder than anyone I've ever known, and died with $200 in the bank. That fear motivated me every single day to do better. Not to make more money, to use money better. The questions continued for another 20 minutes. Some people wanted to know his exact asset allocation. Others wanted to know how he picked funds. A few wanted to know what he thought about cryptocurrency. Nothing, he didn't understand it, so he didn't invest in it. Or real estate investing, too complicated, too many variables, he stuck to what he knew. Finally, Richard Caldwell stood up. I think we need to let Marcus get back to his day, but before we end, I want to say something. He turned to face the audience. I invited Marcus to speak because I thought our employees needed to hear about financial discipline. What I didn't expect was how much I needed to hear it. He pulled out his phone, held it up. This morning, I opened my investment account for the first time in 3 months. I stress-check it obsessively usually, but these last 3 months I've been afraid to look because the market's been volatile. You know what I found? My balance is up 4% because I didn't tinker with it, because I didn't panic sell and try to time the market. Caldwell's voice had lost its CEO polish. He sounded tired, human. Marcus makes a fraction of what I make, but he sleeps better than I do. He's home with his family while I'm answering emails at 11 p.m. He has clarity about his future while I'm terrified of a market crash derailing my retirement. So, who's really rich? The applause started slowly, then built. Marcus felt uncomfortable with it. He hadn't come here for applause. He'd come here because Richard Caldwell had asked, and because he thought maybe 1 or 2 people might benefit. As people filed out, dozens approached him. Some wanted to shake his hand. Some wanted to take selfies with him, which felt deeply strange. A few were crying, telling him they'd been drowning in debt, and his story gave them hope. One woman, probably in her 30s, waited until almost everyone else had left. "Mr. Chen, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm a single mom, 2 kids. I make $32,000 a year as a receptionist here. I thought saving was impossible. But if you could do it on $17 an hour, maybe I can do it on my salary." "You can," Marcus said firmly. "Start small, even $50 a month. Set it up automatic. Don't look at it every day, just let it grow." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I'm going to try." After she left, Marcus was alone in the auditorium, except for Jennifer Torres, who was still sitting in the front row. "That was remarkable," she said. "I don't know about that." "Marcus, you just changed lives. I could see it on people's faces." He sat down next to her, suddenly exhausted. "I also made a lot of people angry. That man who stood up, he wasn't wrong. The system is harder now than it was when I started. But your point still stands. You can't control the system. You can only control your response." They sat in silence for a moment. "Can I tell you something?" Jennifer said. "I went home after our conversation last week and I did an audit. Every subscription, every expense, everything I'm paying for. You know what I found? I'm spending $7,000 a month on things I don't use or don't care about. Gym membership I haven't visited in 2 years. Streaming services I forget I have. A storage unit full of furniture I'll never use. $7,000 a month just bleeding out. That's $84,000 a year. Exactly. I make $2 million. And I'm wasting the equivalent of a teacher's salary on nothing." She laughed bitterly. "I've already cancelled half of it. I'm moving to a smaller apartment next month, and I set up automatic investing, 20% of my paycheck, straight to index funds, never touching it." Marcus smiled. "That's good." "I called my ex-husband last night. We've been fighting over money for 2 years. Destroying each other in legal fees. I told him I want to settle, split it down the middle, walk away, stop feeding lawyers." He agreed. She looked at Marcus. "You made me realize I was spending money. I don't have to win a fight. That doesn't matter. I didn't do that, you did. You showed me it was possible." She stood up. "Anyway, I should let you go. I'm sure you have work to finish." "Actually," Marcus checked his watch, "my shift ended 10 minutes ago. I'm just going to head home." "Your paid-off home in Queens." "My paid-off home in Queens," he confirmed. As he walked to the parking lot, his phone buzzed with notifications, messages from former co-workers, from people he hadn't spoken to in years, from strangers who'd seen the LinkedIn post. One message stood out. From Derek Chen, the skeptical IT specialist. "You were right. I just looked at my spending from the last year. I made $95K. I have $400 saved. What the fuck am I doing? Can we talk?" Marcus wrote back, "Coffee next week? My treat." He drove home in his 2004 Civic, the afternoon sun warm through the windshield. The car had 240,000 miles, but it still ran. Still got him where he needed to go. He'd probably drive it for another 5 years if it lasted. His phone rang. Emily, his daughter. "Dad, you're famous. It's all over Twitter. Janitor teaches executives about money. There are memes. Memes. You next to pictures of expensive cars with the caption, 'This could be yours,' and then your Honda with the caption, 'But this is better.' It's very wholesome." Marcus didn't know whether to laugh or groan. "I just wanted to help a few people." "You helped more than a few, Dad. But listen, are you okay? I saw some of the negative comments. People can be really cruel online." "I'm fine, sweetheart. The negative comments are from people who feel attacked by their own choices. That's not about me. When did you become so wise?" "I'm not wise. I'm just old enough to know what matters." After they hung up, Marcus pulled into his driveway. The house was small, modest, needed a new roof in a couple of years. But it was his. Every brick, every window, every squeaky floorboard. He thought about Richard Caldwell's question, Who's really rich? Marcus didn't have a yacht. He didn't have a vacation home. He didn't have a luxury car or designer clothes or any of the things people associate with wealth. But he had time. He had peace. He had the freedom to walk away from his job tomorrow if he wanted to, and he'd be fine. Maybe that wasn't the kind of rich that made headlines, but it was the kind of rich that let him sleep at night. And that, Marcus thought as he walked through his front door, was worth more than all the yachts in the world. The weekend after the presentation, Marcus stayed off social media. He didn't check LinkedIn, didn't look at Twitter, didn't read the articles that Emily told him were appearing in financial blogs and news sites. He spent Saturday fixing the squeaky wheel on his cleaning cart and Sunday reading a library book about the history of the Panama Canal. Monday morning, he arrived at work at 5 a.m., his usual time. The building was quiet, the way he liked it. He'd been cleaning these offices for 18 years, and the routine was comfortable, predictable in a world that increasingly felt anything but. He was mopping the lobby when Richard Caldwell walked in at 6:30 a.m. "Marcus, I was hoping I'd catch you. Mr. Caldwell, you're here early. Couldn't sleep, too much on my mind." He set down his briefcase. "Do you have a few minutes?" They sat in the lobby on the expensive modern couches that Marcus dusted every Tuesday. "The board called an emergency meeting Friday afternoon," Caldwell said. "After your presentation, there's been concern." Marcus's stomach tightened. "Am I in trouble?" "What? No, God, no." Caldwell rubbed his face. "The concern isn't about you. It's about us, about what your story says about how we've been running this company. We have a 401k matching program that only 34% of our employees use. 34%, Marcus. And do you know why? Because people don't understand it. Because people can't afford to use it. They're living paycheck to paycheck, making decent salaries and still barely scraping by, and the board is asking, rightfully, what we're doing about it." Caldwell leaned back. "The financial wellness program I mentioned, we're completely overhauling it, and I want you to help." Marcus shook his head. "I'm not qualified. You're more qualified than the consultants we've been paying $300 an hour. You have something they don't. Credibility. You've lived it. People trust you. Some people hate me. Some people hate everyone who holds up a mirror. That's not your problem." Caldwell pulled out his phone, showed Marcus a spreadsheet. "We want to create a real financial education program. Not just generic PDFs, but actual workshops, one-on-one coaching, resources for employees at every income level. We want to subsidize financial planning for lower-income employees. We want to make the 401k opt-out instead of opt-in. We want to provide emergency loans at zero interest for employees who need them." Marcus studied the spreadsheet. "This is ambitious. It's overdue. Your presentation embarrassed us, Marcus, in a good way. It showed us how badly we've failed our own people. The average employee here makes $85,000 and has $42,000 saved at age 40. That's pathetic. That means they'll never retire. And if we're paying them enough to live on, but they're still drowning, that's a systemic failure on our part. Or it's a personal finance failure on their part. It's both. And we can only fix our part." Caldwell put away his phone. "I'm not asking you to quit your job. I'm asking you to spend maybe 5 hours a week consulting with our HR team. We'll pay you consultant rates, $150 an hour. That's an extra $3,000 a month." Marcus did the math automatically. $3,000 a month invested at 7% over 6 years until he retired. That was an extra $270,000 in his portfolio. But he didn't need an extra $270,000. He already had enough. "I'll do it for $50 an hour," Marcus said, "and I want the difference donated to a financial literacy non-profit. Split it between a local community organization and a scholarship fund for financial education." Caldwell stared at him. "You're turning down $100 an hour." I don't need it, someone else does. Marcus stood up. But I have conditions. The program has to be accessible to everyone, not just full-time employees. Janitors, security guards, contract workers, everyone. And it has to be judgment-free. No shaming people for their past choices. Only practical help moving forward. Done, all of it. Caldwell extended his hand. Welcome to the team. So the news spread through the building faster than Marcus expected. By Tuesday afternoon, his email was flooded again, this time mostly positive. People thanking him, people asking for advice, people sharing their own stories of financial struggle and small victories. One email stood out from Derek Chen, the IT specialist. Coffee this week? I have questions. Also, I paid off my credit card. First time in 5 years, I've had a zero balance. Felt weird. They met on Wednesday at a diner near the office, the kind of place where coffee was $2 and refills were free. Okay, so I've been doing research, Derek said, pulling out a notebook covered in calculations. Based on my income, $95. And my expenses, which I've been tracking obsessively for a week, I can save about $200 a month if I cut out the stupid stuff. That's a lot. That's the problem. I've been making this salary for 3 years, and I have basically nothing to show for it. Where did it all go? Marcus sipped his coffee. Where do you think it went? Restaurants, bars, Ubers because I was too lazy to take the subway, a gym membership I don't use, subscription boxes for things I don't need, a storage unit. You mentioned that in your talk, and I realized I'm paying $200 a month to store furniture from an ex-girlfriend, furniture I don't even want. So cancel the storage. I did yesterday, donated everything. It felt amazing. Derek looked at his notebook. But here's my question. I'm 32. I'm starting way later than you did. Is it even worth it? Run the numbers. $200 a month, invested at 7% for 30 years until you're 62. What do you get? Derek pulled out his phone, typed into a compound interest calculator. His eyes widened. $7 million. There's your answer. But that's assuming I can keep it up for 30 years. It's assuming you can keep it up this month, then next month, then the month after that. Don't think about 30 years. Think about 30 days. Marcus set down his cup. Here's what you do. Set up automatic transfers. The day after your paycheck hits, $200 moves to your investment account. You never see it. You never touch it. You live on the remaining $700. That's still almost $6,000 a month. I should be able to live on that. You can. The question is whether you will, because your lifestyle will try to expand to fill that space. You'll think, I have extra money, I can afford this nicer apartment, or I can afford this better car. That's the trap. Derek was quiet for a moment. How do you resist that? Remember what you're buying. You're not buying stocks, you're buying freedom. Every dollar you invest is buying back a piece of your future time. Is a nicer apartment worth working 2 extra years? Is a luxury car worth 3 extra years? When you frame it that way, most purchases stop looking attractive. Derek laughed, that's kind of depressing, or liberating, depending on how you look at it. They talked for another hour. Derek had dozens of questions about asset allocation, about rebalancing, about tax-advantaged accounts. Marcus answered what he could and admitted when he didn't know. He wasn't an expert. He was just someone who'd stuck to a simple plan for 3 decades. As they were leaving, Derek said, You know what the hardest part is? Telling my friends? They see me cutting back on going out, on buying rounds at the bar, on splitting Ubers, and they think I'm being cheap. How do you handle that? Marcus thought about his own friendships over the years, the ones that had faded when he stopped keeping up with their lifestyles. You find different friends, or you find ways to spend time that don't cost money. I have a friend, known him for 20 years. We go hiking every Sunday, free. We have another friend. We meet for coffee, split a pot, sit for 3 hours and talk. $5 total. The people who can't enjoy your company without spending money aren't really your friends anyway. That's harsh. That's honest. The financial wellness program launched 6 weeks later. Marcus worked with the HR team to design workshops that covered everything from basic budgeting to investment strategies to debt management. They brought in actual financial advisors, fee-only fiduciaries who didn't sell products, to provide free consultations. The response was overwhelming. The first workshop had 85 attendees. The second had 120. By the fourth workshop, they had to move to a larger venue. But the real impact was quieter, more personal. Marcus started getting messages from employees he'd never met. I set up my 401k contribution today, finally. 6%. It's not much, but it's something. I cancelled 3 subscriptions I forgot I had, found an extra $70 a month. I sold my car and bought a used one for cash. Eliminated my car payment. That's $450 a month I can now invest. Each message was a small victory. Each one was someone choosing their future over their present comfort. Jennifer Torres became one of the program's biggest advocates. She'd moved to a smaller apartment, cut her expenses in half, and was now investing 40% of her income. I feel lighter, she told Marcus during one of their planning meetings. Like I've been carrying this weight of stuff, physical stuff, financial stuff, and I finally put it down. Richard Caldwell's transformation was more dramatic. He put his Hampton house on the market, downsized his Manhattan penthouse, and started taking the subway to work instead of having a driver. My board thinks I'm having a midlife crisis, he joked. Maybe I am, but I'm also sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Not everyone was receptive. Some employees accused the program of being patronizing, of putting the burden of financial insecurity on individual behavior rather than addressing systemic wage issues. They weren't entirely wrong. Marcus knew that. No amount of financial discipline could overcome poverty wages or astronomical housing costs or medical debt from a broken healthcare system. But he also knew that waiting for systemic change while your financial life collapsed wasn't a strategy. It was surrender. The most significant change came 4 months after Marcus's original presentation. Pinnacle Financial Group announced a company-wide wage increase. Not huge, not life-changing, but meaningful. 5% across the board for all employees making under $100. The press release cited a renewed commitment to employee financial wellness and recognition that we must compensate our workers fairly before asking them to save wisely. Marcus knew his presentation had been the catalyst. The board had been embarrassed into action. Sometimes embarrassment was more effective than arguments. 6 months after the presentation, Marcus arrived at work to find a letter on his cart. It was from the CEO's office, formal letterhead, the works. He opened it carefully. Dear Marcus, effective immediately. Your title is being changed from Custodial Services Technician to Director of Financial Wellness, Custodial Division. Your salary is being increased to $65,000 annually, with benefits including full health insurance, dental, vision, and an enhanced 401k match. Your responsibilities will include maintaining your current custodial duties, if you wish to continue them, and serving as a senior advisor to our financial wellness program. You will lead workshops, provide mentorship, and help us build a culture of financial responsibility and empowerment. This promotion is long overdue. You've been an invaluable member of this organization for 18 years, and it's time we recognize that formally. Sincerely, Richard Caldwell, CEO, Pinnacle Financial Group. Marcus read the letter 3 times. $65. more than triple his current salary. He ran the numbers in his head. He'd hit his retirement goal of $1.2 million in 3 years instead of 6, maybe less. But then he thought about what that meant. More money to manage, more complexity, more temptation to inflate his lifestyle. He picked up his phone and called Caldwell's direct line. "Marcus, did you get the letter?" "I did. I appreciate it. But I need to ask, can I keep my current salary and have you donate the difference to the Financial Literacy Scholarship Fund?" Silence on the other end of the line. "Marcus, that's $31 a year you're turning down." "I know, but I don't need it. I'm already on track for retirement. That money could fund scholarships for 20 students to take financial planning courses. That's 20 people who might break the cycle of financial instability for their families." "You're serious?" "I'm serious. Keep the title change, keep the benefits, but let me stay at my current salary. That's all I need." More silence. Then, "You know what? Fine. Done. You're the most financially rational person I've ever met." Marcus laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." The day before his 57th birthday, Marcus sat in his kitchen with his laptop open, reviewing his portfolio. $923,000. He'd be at his goal within the year, maybe sooner if the market cooperated. Not that it mattered much. The market would do what it always did, bounce around unpredictably in the short term and grow steadily in the long term. Emily called as he was closing his laptop. "Happy early birthday, Dad." "Thanks, sweetheart. I have news. I got promoted. Senior analyst, $95 a year." "Emily, that's wonderful. And I wanted to tell you, I'm following your plan. I'm living on $60,000, investing the rest. I set it up automatic, just like you taught me. I'm never going to be like your father, Dad. I'm never going to work myself to death with nothing to show for it. You broke that cycle." Marcus felt his throat tighten. "I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of you too. You know that article in the Times last week? The one about how your story sparked a national conversation about financial literacy. My friends all sent it to me. My dad is famous. I'm not famous. I'm just a janitor who saved money. You're more than that. You're proof that the system can work if you understand it. That matters, Dad." After they hung up, Marcus walked to his bedroom and pulled out a shoebox from the top shelf of his closet. Inside were photographs, old receipts, mementos from 32 years of a quiet life. One photo was from his first day at Pinnacle Financial Group. He was 24, fresh-faced, wearing his new uniform, proud to have steady work. He'd made $9 an hour then. He'd thought that was pretty good. Another photo was from Emily's college graduation. She was wearing her cap and gown, holding her diploma, debt-free, because her father had planned ahead. The most recent photo was from the Financial Wellness Program launch. Him standing with Richard Caldwell, Jennifer Torres, and a room full of employees who'd attended his workshop. He didn't look like a janitor in that photo. He looked like someone who'd figured something out. Marcus put the photos back in the box. Tomorrow was his birthday. He'd take the day off, drive to the park he liked, bring a thermos of coffee and a library book. Maybe he'd call a few friends, the ones who'd stuck around over the years. Simple pleasures, free or nearly free. That evening, he did something he rarely did. He opened LinkedIn. The original post about him had over 200,000 likes now. The comment section was a mixture of inspiration, skepticism, anger, and gratitude. He scrolled through, not reading too carefully, until one comment stopped him. "I'm a 28-year-old teacher making $43,000. I have $62,000 in student loans. I was about to give up on ever building wealth. Then I saw Marcus's story. I realized I was making excuses. I was spending $400 a month on things I didn't need. I cut that in half, set up automatic investing with the $200, and I'm paying an extra $200 toward my loans. It's not much, but it's something. For the first time in years, I feel hope. Thank you, Marcus Chen. You gave me a roadmap. Marcus read it twice, then he closed the laptop. This was why he'd agreed to speak, not for the fame, not for the recognition, not even for the salary increase he'd turned down, for messages like that, for people who'd been drowning and suddenly realized they could swim. He thought about his father, working 3 jobs and dying broke. He thought about his mother, cleaning houses at 70. He thought about the cycle of financial desperation that had defined generations of his family. And he thought about Emily, starting her career with 0 debt, investing automatically, building a foundation that would carry her through life. The cycle was broken, not with a dramatic moment, not with a windfall or a lottery win or a sudden breakthrough, with 32 years of small, boring, consistent decisions, with automatic transfers and low-cost index funds, and a refusal to let lifestyle inflation steal his future. Marcus had never wanted to be rich in the conventional sense. He'd wanted to be free. Free from debt, free from fear, free from the desperation that had consumed his father, and he'd gotten there, not by making more money, but by using money better. He walked to his front porch and sat in the old rocking chair he'd bought at a yard sale 15 years ago. The evening was cool, quiet. Somewhere down the street kids were playing. A dog barked. Normal sounds in a normal neighborhood. His phone buzzed. A text from Derek Chen. Just hit $25,000 saved. First time in my life I've had 5 figures in the bank. Thank you for showing me this was possible. Marcus smiled and typed back, "You did the work. I just showed you the map." He set down his phone and looked at his house, his modest, paid-off house with the squeaky floorboards and the roof that needed replacing in a couple of years. It wasn't much by most standards, but it was his, completely, entirely his. And in a world where ownership seemed increasingly impossible, where people worked harder than ever for less security than ever, that was its own kind of wealth. Marcus rocked slowly in his chair, watching the sun set over Queens. Tomorrow was his birthday. He'd spend it however he wanted because his time was his own, not his employer's, not his creditors', not anyone's but his. He'd worked 32 years to reach this point, and it had been worth every single day. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with another notification. Another message from someone whose life had changed after hearing his story. He'd read it later. Right now, he was going to sit here, watch the sunset, and appreciate the simple fact that he was exactly where he wanted to be. Not rich in the way the world measured richness, but rich in the way that mattered. And that, Marcus Chen thought, as the last light faded from the sky, was enough.